Okay, we are recording.
All right. So why? I'm going to be Mark. Why?
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 Uh,
Why?
why did you sign up with Beachbody?
Let's see. So it it came at a time. So I've been a customer, a Beachbody customer for 12, 13 years, something crazy like that. Like even before Aiden was born. I always just liked working out at home. So I started just like Angie with the Tybo in the basement. But then I'm not sure what my first program was. I guess it could have been P90X or something like that. I think it was because I remember, that was my first time using weights and I got really good results. Even though I didn't follow the nutrition, that was probably my first time doing something advanced like that. Instead of just cardio and everything. And I always just gravitated to Beachbody just because they always kept unrolling programs. Like there was always something else. And I was kind of at my limit, I think, with the Billy Blank VHS tapes, and there was like a big stack, and they were sending them to me automatically when they would, get a new one out. But he wasn't making them anymore or whatever, lost interest. So I naturally gravitated to the Beachbody website because they always had new stuff. And so I remember doing Turbo Fire and like the Les Mills series, Les Mills Pump, Les Mills Combat. And I think that those were after I was coach, because I remember meeting Heather on the Team Beachbody message boards. She must have been trolling in there because Facebook wasn't big really at that point. I think I had a Facebook, but I don't remember really using it. And so she found me in there, and it was kind of cool to be able to chat with other people in there that were doing, they were doing Beachbody workouts too. And then she just approached me and asked me if I wanted to do a challenge group. And it was like, what's that? What is a challenge group? And she explained it would be a group on Facebook and that everybody was going to be doing combat. And she was named the Combat Warriors. Mitzi was in my first group with her. And I'm sure some of the other girls were too, but I remember Mitzi for sure being in there. And so it was almost like, I just couldn't believe it was almost not like a dream come true, but I just couldn't believe there was other people like me. I just thought I was a weirdo when I always worked out in my basement. I just thought I was not normal because most people go to the gym, and I just didn't like the gym. So when I found that there was other people that were doing Beachbody workouts too, and that there was a collective group of them, I was like, wow, I just thought that was just the greatest thing because I wasn't alone. I just didn't feel alone anymore. And so my first experience was just awesome. And then but leading up to that, Mark and I had owned our own business for a number of years. And so running the business and having 3 kids and just the stress of all of that, running 24/7 at what it seemed like. And we were living paycheck to paycheck. And I was always trying to figure out what else could I do? I had no skills. I seriously hated school. And I worked for my dad. I went to college for a couple of years, and then I came home to finish at night locally and be a commuter. And so I worked for my dad while I finished up. But it wasn't I really had a focus because I just didn't like school. It was just getting through it to get through it, just because it was an expectation to finish, So it was I always joke it was the 7-year plan, to go to college.
What was your degree in?
Business marketing, just basic business management. I remember thinking I wish I could take some of those classes over, because if I had known that I was going to run my own company at some point, that would have been helpful.
I would have paid attention.
Yeah.
What did you and Mark do what business did you own?
We had a commercial AV company. So, and that was my dad's industry that he was in it started when I was a little kid. He was in there and did that. And my dad started off in the 80s, and he did like drive-through systems for McDonald's, Burger King, Dunkin' Donuts, and all that kind of stuff. And then it like morphed over time into like background music for bars and restaurants. And over time it morphed into like direct TV and cameras, you know, for businesses, hotels and restaurants, and all types of commercial businesses that use background music or any sort of audio visual stuff, you know. And as the technology changed, it was like satellite music, then it was internet music, and you know, that kind of stuff. It just kind of morphed with time. Direct TV was big at that point, stuff. So when my dad was actually getting ready to, I worked for him, and then I kind of like moved up in his company, little by little, started off answering the phones and that kind of thing, and then got into customer service. And I really loved that because I could go into the customers, like I was on the road, so I wasn't in the office, and I was in front of all the customers, the existing customers, and all I had to do was knock on their door and ask them how they were doing and if they needed anything, and then I would get commissions from that. But it was just awesome to go in, and like they would always give glowing reviews about my dad. So it was like really awesome to just get to meet these people that had been like customers of his for like years and years, like 40 years, like crazy amount of years. And so then he's getting ready to leave and retire, and the new company that came and bought him is like, can you stay to consult a little bit, right? And we could sort of see what was going to happen. He had all these people working for him since I was a little kid, and they were all going to be like canned. And so he was doing his best to try to get all these people and save them in different various jobs. And then he's like, you know what's going to happen to this place? He's like, why don't you and Mark, we'll get him trained, you know, he'll get a van, and you guys do your own thing, and you be the sales and he be the installation, and you just go and do your own thing. And so we decided, okay, so that was in like 2000 that we decided, not so before kids or anything, right? And so that was what, you know, we were alone. So we're like, this is great. Let's have our own company. Who needs kids, right? So we didn't have kids for a long time. I never even thought that I wanted to have them, just because we were so focused on what we wanted. And but then fast forward, you know, time goes on and life happens, and kids decide to, you know, show up. And, you know, we did decide we wanted a family, you know, after 5 years of being married and that. And so then your priorities change, you know. And so I was, at that point, it was Ben was the last, right? And so it was 2013. So it's all kind of so convoluted, because I feel like I still always worked out from home. That was like my de-stressor. Like I still always did that. And I would always remember like cooling down with Shalene after Turbo Fire, thinking like, you know, she is so motivational, and she's always like, you know, talking about her day and all these things. And I was like, how could I get on the other side of that camera or be a fitness instructor or something? And then I would think, well, that's stupid, because you don't get rich being a fitness instructor, right? That's just dumb. And how would I explain giving up my business to be a fitness instructor? And so I just thought it was, you know, silly. But I had thought about it, you know, a lot of different times, like it would just be so nice to wake up and work out when I wanted to, and, you know, have this like life of luxury that looked like Shalene was running, you know. And so, you know, fast forward with kids and all that stuff. And so I think it was March of 2013 that I joined that challenge group. And so at this point we were like super stressed out. We had been having conversation after conversation about what are we going to do? We're, you know, 40 something years old, and nothing is happening. We're living paycheck to paycheck, and nothing is happening. And what are we doing this for? Kids are in daycare. And it was just like, you know, one of those, like, what are we doing? What are we doing with our life? Like the business was like status quo. Like we had absorbed a lot of my dad's customers. We had a lot going on, but it was like we just could not get to that next level. We would hire helpers, consultants. I got, you know, all kinds of staffing people to help me find the right people to put in place, get a partner. We ended up getting a partner, and that was like the end, because he was like such an asshole. I couldn't stand it. And that was even, so it made it worse. You know, I was like, I just can't even do this with him. He's a horrible guy. And we should have seen the writing on the wall with him, but we didn't. And so then this all happened at this culmination, right? And so when Heather found me, and then I found the group, and I was like, light bulb. And then she told me that I could make a living doing this. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, this is like my answer. And I just totally felt like this just was landed in my lap for me. This was my answer. And I thought I was going to do like hobby side business, like for fun. This was going to be my fun thing, my outlet. And because I worked out anyways, and all I had to do was drink Shakeology, and now I could really be accountable for my nutrition and take things to the next level, because I've always been really just wanting to challenge myself and push myself in that way too, personally. And then so I think I was only like signed up for like 30 days, and I was like, I can't do both. My heart belongs in one spot, and I can't focus on both. And so I told my husband, I said, we got to figure that how to segue me out. And I don't want to do this anymore with the company. And he was fine with it. I think he could see it. I wasn't happy. And I said, you know what, we're spending so much money on daycare that I'll come home and stay with the kids, because that was like a wash anyway. And I'm just going to make this work, so the rest is history.
So you had said before that you didn't do the nutrition when you did like your first program. So what was going on there? What was it like? Like, what was your nutrition like?
Yeah, like whatever. I worked out to eat pretty much.
Okay.
And I would,
did you struggle with your weight?
Only after the kids.
Okay.
Like that's when so like with each kid, I saw it like as a license to eat, and I did. Like with Aiden, I didn't know what to expect, so I pretty much halted all of my activity, and like I was afraid he was gonna like break if I did anything. Mm-hmm. So I didn't do anything, and then I ate more. And I was over 200 pounds with each kid, so that was quite a roller coaster too, because that was my first experience being like that out of shape. And so like after him, I got to my pre-pregnancy weight, and then I got pregnant with Riley, and then same thing, was really heavy, got down to really even did better with her after her, because I was like, okay, now I know I'm not going to break her, so I can be a little active. And then I also in my mind was thinking, as soon as I get the green light from the doctor, I'm going to do Insanity. And I joined Jenny Craig, and I knew my issue was portion control. I've always known portion control is still an issue. But I figured if I could buy the food, and I was working, so I was like, this will be easy. I'll just buy a week's worth of food and, microwave it. And that worked. But with Jenny Craig, it only could take you to a certain point, because at that point I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go back into weight training after I like do the cardio to lose weight, whatever. And they really couldn't help me past a certain point. So I was like stuck again. I was like, okay, well, I need to progress. How am I going to progress? And then then I got pregnant with Ben. I remember the pictures of that, how I looked right before I found out I was pregnant again. It was like my thinnest ever at that point, of working out and all that stuff. And then Ben came, same thing though. Like I still worked out, but I really still ate whatever I wanted, because I was just like in my mind, it was, you're going to get fat anyway. You're going to get fat anyway. And I would just be like, I'm going to get fat anyway. So whatever, I can work it off. I can do Jenny Craig again, all that stuff. So that was my only first experience with being heavy in my life was having kids, for sure. If I was before that, I didn't notice, like I didn't really, I think I was just average in high school. I don't really ever remember, conversations with girls like, you're fat, you're skinny. I don't remember having those conversations with people.
Were you always active? Like, were you always into fitness and stuff?
No. When we went to college and we started eating and drinking a lot, somebody had the bright idea that we better be active and go to the gym so we can keep doing that. And so that was my first experience going to the gym. And it was a basketball school. So the girls that played basketball were like, well, we can go to the gym because we're athletes. They let us go to the gym. So we kind of tagged along with them, and then we still ate and drank whatever we wanted to. But at least we stayed like status quo,
So was the first time you ever had to lose weight was after Aiden?
Yes.
That was the first time you like dieted on purpose? Like,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I don't even remember like weighing myself. My guess is that I was like 140, 145 around there before I ever had kids. Like I think I was just like that average. Like I could have been fat to somebody, but I just don't really ever remember having it be a concern.
So do you find it difficult to kind of relate to people who have been struggling for a long time with their body image and weight and things like that? Do you find it hard to relate to them, or do you feel like your experience after the pregnancies and stuff has helped you?
I guess yes and no, because if somebody's been struggling since they were a kid, I feel so much more empathy for them, because I just can't imagine what that must have been like to go through and be brought up with, because that's messing with your head, so much more than just having a baby, is like, if it's something that like you've grown up in this household, where everyone is overweight, or food is an issue with everyone in your family. That's tough, because, sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, I guess, because I can tell people that I do, but then, I look at someone, like say in my free clean eating group, and they weigh in and they're like, they feel so stuck and so out of control, and they're the same weight that I was after I had my baby. But the big difference is I know what to do to change that, and they don't, and they feel lost and stuck. And so it's like trying to help those types of people are, I would say, definitely harder. And I have people that come to my page or have said to me, how can we relate to each other, because, look at how you are versus, how I am, sort of a thing. In my early coaching days, I actually ended up referring somebody to a heavier coach, because she asked me to find her a coach that was overweight, that she could relate to much easier than me. Like, she saw me as just not an equal or whatever in her eyes, So I guess I think it's like probably a case by case basis, depending on the person, because if their view on me is that they don't think that I can relate to them just because I was overweight at one point. I don't know. I guess sometimes I don't feel like that I'm worthy of that, because my weight gain was only from pregnancy, not from childhood. I don't know.
But you say your struggle with the nutrition piece is portion control and everything. But and I was just looking, I know you run clean eating groups and stuff, but do you talk, I know you talk a lot about your workouts and show a lot of your workouts and stuff. Do you let people in and talk about your nutrition piece and what you've been doing and how you've been controlling your portions and stuff like that? When you're talking about your journey, like, do you talk a lot about the food piece?
I do try to do that. I do talk about it in my clean eating groups. As far as what I'm doing, I talk often about how I'm eating for my goals, and that's so different for everyone, because when you start a weight loss journey, you're gonna have, a different set of food, restrictions or whatever. I think, because we know when you set up, say you're doing the 21-day fix, you have a specific type of a calculation, right? And versus if you do Body Beast or like Shift Shop or whatever, right? Those are kind of sort of three or four different types of eating, like for different goals. So I do always like tell people, like in my clean eating groups, and if it comes to that, I'm talking about it on Facebook or whatever, that I'm eating specifically for my situation right now, because and that's another reason why I share about Shakeology too, because what started off for me as one thing with Shakeology is now something completely different in how I use it. So that has changed for me a lot. And in the middle of the road, it was different for me too. So I have like a lot of different phases depending on what I was doing with my workouts and things like that. But now that we have the performance line, I use it in a different way now. What? Okay, good night. I'll come down in a minute. So I talk about that. I try to, when I do my clean eating groups, I always do a segment about um, reading labels and stuff, and it always segues into using the containers. I always talk about how I use the containers for what I'm doing, and then goes into talking to people about if you're just starting your journey, you'd have a certain amount that you have to eat every day. But if you're someone like me that is looking to build muscle or maintain muscle or something like that, you'd eat it in a whole different way, and it's like macros and that kind of stuff. Does that answer your question?
A little bit. I mean, I think in terms of talking about your own struggles with portion control and how that relates to your story and incorporating that is just curious as to why that's the piece that you struggle with and how you could use that in your story and relating that. Just like why, like the fitness piece seems like it came really easy to you, and that's the piece that seems like you're very comfortable with. But curious as to, like, I know you've done Jenny Craig and it feels like you've done all these different things, but why do you think the nutrition piece and a lot
Right.
of,
Like, what did you struggle with? I mean, portion control is one thing, but why do you struggle with portion control? I guess is what you need to get to.
thank you.
You know what I mean? Like, why?
Yeah, I feel like
Why do weekend? Like, why is it easy to blow it on the weekends? Right? Like, if you could answer that question, that would be fabulous, because I would love to know myself.
I don't know what's wrong with me. Sometimes I think about what's wrong with me. Why can't, so like in my head, I'm thinking, so-and-so's coming and we're going to go to a restaurant and I'm excited for that. And then I think, why can't I limit it to just one night? Because then it turns into something else the next day. So for me, if it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, beginning of Friday, I have complete self-control, and I don't know why. Like, I do not cheat. I have stayed right on plan all week. But start thinking about Friday, Saturday, and sometimes even Sunday. I've been trying to say to myself, use Sunday as your Monday. So since I can remember, college, whatever, I always felt like weekends were like a free for all, like let your hair down, drinking. I was drinking and smoking a lot in the beginning, before kids and all that stuff. And then, and then that leads to eating everything, because I just don't have any inhibitions when you let your guard down when you're drinking. So that's the first wrong step right there, is having something like a cocktail, because then you're like, well, I can just eat more cheese, nachos, and then I'll have a cookie later, and and then tomorrow will be different.
Right. Right.
And so honestly, I keep trying to ask myself why. So on the one hand, I'll be like, but why can't I enjoy myself? I don't get that. Why? But then I'm like, why do I not lose the 5 pounds? Like, it stays. Like, I lose, like right now my stomach is flat, but by Friday, Saturday, I'll have this bloat again, and what's wrong with me that I just can't get past that point. But then I think, but it's not like I'm going to step on stage again.
Right.
So what do I care, really? Right. But it would be nice to reach my goals on my own. I always think about that too. Like, I am almost like determined to reach my goals doing this through Beachbody. Like, I want to prove to those people that you don't need I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to be able to do this and show people that you can do this through Beachbody. And because I know it's possible. I just have a poor discipline when it comes to the weekend, There's tons of people
that you can use that to connect with your challengers. Because I think that, it's a very common thing. That's, the weekends for me, Sunday through Saturday is when I blow it. So for people like me, how it's very common. So how do you think that you can, use that to connect with your challengers or with the people who are visiting your page? That's like, what do they call an identification factor?
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? A lot of times it crosses my mind to just be completely open and like take pictures of all that I'm doing, right, on the weekends and stuff. But then on the other side, I think, what does that person think of me that I like work super hard all week and then I eat all this shit in one spot, like over the course I guess I shouldn't wonder what people think, because obviously but maybe also by being accountable like that, I would stop that behavior maybe a little.
I think people would say, oh, look, a human being that messes up.
Yeah. And I thought of that too.
But there's ways that you can use that to connect with other people, to bring the people in, to say, okay, Meggin here is in really good shape. She's obviously doing something right. She also struggles on the weekends. Maybe she's doing something that is keeping everything in check despite those episodes on the weekends and stuff. But I think you could potentially be missing a big connection with people who would really go like, oh, okay, I do that too.
Is it even really that you're struggling on the weekends, or just that like you've gotten into this groove where you know that you can exercise all week and then do this and you're going to stay in the same spot and you're okay being where you are? And that like isn't like, that's okay. Like you get to the point of maintaining and then you maintain. And some people maintain exactly, it's like a Weight Watchers approach. Like you eat less all week and then you eat more on the weekend, right? So unless there's like a difference between, but I know that like even when you had weight to lose, you struggled with the weekends, right? So like that's where I would think that the pain point comes in. Like what is it that makes you work hard all week? And if you can think back, because I think it might be a different reason now that you do that, because you're really you're okay with where you are and you look good and you're healthy. And so you don't have to be so strict on the weekends, but before.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the first time that I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to see if I can make it like a month without cheating. Cause I was like, I have to break this plateau. We have to break through this. And I know it's me though, and the choices that I make, and so the Whole30, when I did that, that was my first, and it's a mind game. It's such a mind game. Cause I was like, if I can do 30 days and give up all these things and sugar, and like, that was huge for me at that point. That was a big thing for me. It's not the dairy. It wasn't giving up grains. I was really hooked on a lot of pre-workouts and post-workout stuff from like GNC. It's a lot of sugar, just a lot of sugar. And I remember thinking, I got to get rid of this stuff from my life, but I don't want to all of a sudden crash. And what I had read about the Whole30 was like, it's going to give you this energy from like all these different foods and rich and foods and stuff like that. Is it really loud in the background? No, okay. Washing dishes down there. And so, and I did it, and I felt awesome. And it felt awesome to go to a restaurant with my family and, get like a chicken breast and steamed broccoli instead of like the fried onion rings that I would normally get there. And like, it was so empowering. Like, I just couldn't even tell you how awesome it felt. So like, why? I just don't know why I can't do that now. But I made it the 30 days. And then the next time I challenged myself was with those 12-week preps to do the bikini thing, right? So I know what I'm capable of. And so I have that discussion in my head all the time. Like, you can do this. You know what you're capable of. I'm not afraid of working hard as far as exercise goes, but it's the food it's the worst. And I feel like right now I'm also struggling because I feel like I can't find the right combination of foods to eat. Some days I feel bloated, some days I don't. I still stick to the plan, but I'm still like, I just feel like, why can't I get this right, for what I'm doing? And like Shift Shop plan worked for like a week or two, and then I felt the same way. And then like when I did Quarter Force, like immediately felt awesome, and then it stopped working. And I don't know if that means that if I didn't cheat at all, maybe I would continue to see progress, but we'll never know. So what was the question?
So it sounds like you conquered your weekends by having a very specific plan and just telling yourself, I'm going to stick to this for this amount of time. So, having that, and that is something that that's why the Whole30 works for a lot of people, is because it gives you a very narrow focus. So that may be a way that you can help people who are struggling with the same thing, is to talk about like committing to, the 21-day fix with no cheats for 21 days or whatever. Because that sounds like that's how you broke through that particular problem.
Yeah. And then, and that's also another reason why I didn't do a third competition, because I was all set to do that. And it was so food obsessive for me the second time around that I was a jerk to all my family. I was like obsessed about how you had to eat a certain time all the time. And, those first couple times it was great. The first 12-week time I did it was great. But I could start to see that I was like losing myself. And I was like, you know what? My focus is really coaching. And this is really what I want to do. I don't really want to be a competitor and make a career out of it. It was like a cool bucket list thing. And I just wanted to see if I could make it the 12 weeks basically. And then it turned into, ooh, this is cool. I want to do this again. So I did it twice. And the second time, it was a little bit better. We got to eat more food, real food. But then I could just see myself changing. And I was like, okay, but I don't want this. I don't want to be food obsessive my whole life. I don't want to have to worry about what I'm eating all the time. Because what happened after those 12 weeks too was binging, which was horrible, and then you just would blow right back up. It's not like I blew up to like another 200 pounds or something, but like the first time I was so skinny, it did not feel good. It did not feel like me. And so I ended up gaining probably like 20 pounds after that. And, now I'm like middle of the road again, but, I don't want to be like a skinny waif either. I want to be like, look like athletic and healthy and all that kind of thing. And it just got too obsessive, it's just like there's got to be that balance where you're, on point, but you're enjoying yourself too. And I always talk about that in our groups where we want to find that balance. And like sometimes I wonder, is the balance really there? Can you really find the balance? It's like that struggle, that inner struggle you have with yourself.
Also, it kind of sounds like you're food obsessed Monday through Friday afternoon. And then
sometimes I can make it through Saturday.
You take your little mini vacations from it every week, right?
And I feel like that's a big part of it too, because I want to stop counting and I want to stop tallying the sheets, and I just want to eat food that's on my plate. And that's exactly what I think too, is like, I just want to break. I just want to break.
But that's working for you, right? I mean, you're maintaining. You're not.
Yeah.
I mean,
you always have this image of yourself of how you want to be, right? So is it good enough? Probably, I guess. Do I just have to come to terms with being happy with myself? Maybe.
Well, so you were talking when you first started working out and stuff, it was in college because you were drinking and eating and stuff like that. And you were like, okay, got to like keep this in check. But that's a little different than being in really good shape and wanting more. So when did it shift from like, okay, just want to like work out to keep my eating and drinking in check, to how far can I take this? Or this is good, but I really kind of want this over here.
So So it was after Ben. I think that I've always felt the need to challenge myself. Like I'm always looking for that next challenge. Like I'm thinking a lot lately about the 80-day obsession, and a friend of mine that's another coach that's in the test group, and we're really, really similar in on all kinds of ways. And she's like, was stuck like me, like how I am now. And she looks just the way she's talking about it. Like she's lifting heavy, she's doing this, the nutrition is different, and all these things. And that's what I feel like, I'm like, oh, I want something different. I want to always push myself. I always want to try to be better. And so I do always think about that. So like, after Ben was born, I was doing, Les Mills pump and combat to get, better in shape. And then, but my bucket list was always insanity, as everyone always does that. Right. So when I finally got through insanity, then it's like the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I'm always trying to, and it was Body Beast. I was like a cardio junkie forever. I did Asylum, got better and better. I look back at some of my pictures and I feel like I look better than I do now, but it's probably just because your body changes over time too, with muscles and stuff. But then after that, it was Body Beast because I had never done weight training before, except my little experience with P90X. But this time I knew about the nutrition, so I was like, I'm going to go and I'm going to focus on that. And then when I started to see my body change with the muscle part, then for some reason, it was like a time when I was surrounded by some people from high school that were doing these boot camps at locally to where I lived in Massachusetts. And we're talking about the boot camps and stuff like that. And how they were doing the boot camps, and then it was like a local thing to get on stage, and I had seen them do that for a couple of years. So it was like you would go to this gym and you do the workouts, and you do they would give you a packet to follow and all of that stuff, right? And I had thought about it for a long time, and was like, the biggest fear was like that little tiny bathing suit. But then I just thought, if I could push myself to just go to this level, I've always wanted to do something like that, like to max your body out in such a way that you could display it like that, like that. I feel is just so impressive to be able to mentally be in that sort of a position and play that sort of game with your body and your mind and all that stuff. So I always have that mindset. I can be better. I can do better. And I think that's why I'm beating myself up a lot lately, because, I don't look like I did when I was on stage. I have this transformation picture that I share with my free groups that starts the beginning of my journey when I was at my heaviest, and then the peak when I was on stage the second time, and then now what I look like, which is like just average, which is fine. And I always feel like, am I letting myself down because I couldn't maintain this up here? Yes.
Nobody
and no.
can maintain that.
Right. I know.
Nobody can. Nobody.
But I also feel like why can't I get the food thing under control so that I could be in better shape? I don't know. I guess maybe my perception of myself is different than what you guys must see of me. But I always want to be better. I always think about ways to do better. And it's the same thing with this business too. Like I don't ever think about giving up. It would never cross my mind to not do this business, to not work out, it's just part of my life. And if it's not working with food, with business, whatever, I just find another workaround. I just find another way to do it. There's so many ways to, go about it. And, so that's my mentality too, is I won't ever give up. I'll just figure out another way.
So have you struggled? It doesn't sound like you've struggled physically ever, really. Have you, would you say you've struggled physically at any point?
No, I guess not. I mean, I had the thing removed in my shoulder, but that wasn't anything, I guess scary to some people, but it seemed like it was brief. So I wouldn't say, I guess it was cancer, but not really, not like that. Struggle, like financially, that kind of struggle. Yeah, that's a struggle. But not physically. not with any physical things.
What about physically, like after you had the kids?
No.
You were over 200 pounds. It wasn't a struggle?
Yeah, I mean, I remember, and I've always remembered doing pump because I thought that I'd be able to just like do insanity, like right out of the gate, and and not so much. I remember feeling defeated, and having to dial it back to do pump. But pump was great because you didn't have to jump around and you still like sweat a wicked lot, so that was great. But yeah, you remember, and I always tell people that in my classes all the time, like the people that are like, doing push-ups on your toes versus your knees and those kinds of things. I'm like, you guys, I could not do any of this stuff when I, after I had kids and even a year after, I said, I'm only really, being able to do push-ups now and a few in a row now. Like it's been how many years, it's a lot of time to gain that back strength and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, I think with having, Ben too, that I always felt like, oh, I have to go through this again. I liked what, came out on the other end, but I could not stand being pregnant. I hated it. And just because I felt so fat and there was nothing I could do about it. That was probably a big thing, is I just felt like even if I exercised my ass off, it would still be there. You'd still have this big ass stomach and these tender thighs. And yeah, so that was probably why I always said, I'm going to get fat anyway. Might as well just sit around and do nothing.
We had very
There's
similar.
nothing you can do about it.
We had very similar experiences with that.
Like, just let it happen, right?
Yeah. Do you feel like you've struggled emotionally at any point? It doesn't have to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be fitness related, because a lot of what we're trying to get to is stuff that you've gone through to like relate, we can relate back to other people.
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt like a really selfish person. And I don't know if that was because my mom used to tell me that a lot. But I never really wanted to have kids. I definitely thought that would be something that would cramp my style, when I was younger. When Mark and I got together, I was like, I don't think I want kids. And he was like, okay. But he probably was like, oh, he's like the kid guy. But he seemed okay with it. You were married for a long time before we had kids. I just really could not see that in my life. And like seeing people with kids was like, bleh. Like even now I see people with kids. I'm like, oh, like my kids are good, but other people's kids not so much. But, that was a huge shift I still feel like a lot of times I'm selfish. Like I actually have posted this a couple of different times. I feel like on the airplane when they say, put the mask on yourself first before helping your kid. So like I'm always feeding myself before I feed my child, or I'm eating while I'm cooking for them. Just feel like there's a lot of stuff that I put myself first. And I feel like they can tell sometimes, and like they're going to turn out to be selfish because I'm like, so a water bottle is a good example. And it just bothers me to share water. And so I'm on like their case about, get your own water bottle before we leave the house, because I have my water with me and I am not sharing with your germy mouths. And
right.
It's
a legitimate concern.
Cheez-Its, and Ben has like a mouthful of Cheez-Its all the time, and I'm like, don't, And so like, but today I was embarrassed at the soccer game because they were running around, and then Ben's like, can I have some water? And I'm like, I have this huge thing of water, and I didn't want to give it to him. But there's other mothers there. Are they thinking I'm terrible? And I was like, fine, drink water. And I was like, so thirsty. I'm like, I'm not going to share it with you because you've been sick and whatever else you got going on.
Oh my God.
sharing water. So I ended up, and then Aiden comes over. He's like, "Do you have any water?" I'm like, "Take it. I'm not drinking it anymore. It's yours." So yeah, that the whole selfishness. I feel like I'm doing better with it, but I still do feel like I'm really worried that gets projected on them, and then Riley's gonna be like that, or they see that in me, that I'm thinking about myself more than anything else.
Well, I don't think the feeding yourself first thing is a selfish thing. I think that's a so you don't kill them thing. Because if you I do that too. I'll feed, because I'm like, I can't even think if I'm hungry. How am I supposed to take care of someone else if I'm like, I can't think straight? You can wait 5 minutes. I've got to feed everybody else. Seriously, have a banana, relax. Why did
you know what? Not with just the kids, though. Mark is probably going to be listening to this whole thing. But I feel like, probably a little bit selfish when it comes to our marriage, too, I would say. He's he does everything. He seriously does everything. He does the laundry, does all the stuff. He does his own laundry, the kids' laundry. And I just let him. I don't know. I feel like sometimes that's really selfish, but I feel like he's probably feels like he's helping, and that he is, obviously. But I feel guilty, but it's been like that for a really long time. So
why did your mom tell you were selfish? What made her say that? She was a
wonderful mother. She still says it to me. She's got this underlying stuff under her breath that she always comments on everything. I don't know why she just, sometimes I get the impression that she might be jealous of how outgoing and stuff I am, how I just go after what I want. I don't really care what people think, that sort of attitude. And she really cares what everybody thinks about her. And she was the stay-at-home mom, Betty Crocker, making dinner for your man kind of a person. And that's just not me. She's you never take care of Mark, all you think about is yourself kind of a thing. And I'm he doesn't need taking care of. He's a big boy. And I do take care of him. I'm what do you think happens when you're out here, I don't know. It was a rough summer. I'm glad she's gone, for sure. I feel bad, but it's going to be nice to live across the street, but not together. That's for sure.
That's a lot. Yeah. I'm wondering about the selfish thing, if that has anything to do with the weekend. If it's because you have, do you feel like you're being selfish when you're staying on plan?
No, I like feeling focused. I do like the feeling. I feel super jazzed up on Mondays, and I just feel almost unstoppable during the week,
But during the week, you're able to focus on yourself. Right? Yeah. And then come the weekend, now all of a sudden everybody's in the mix. So do you find that a lot of the times that you're going off plan is with the family?
Yeah, but I also feel hey guys, want to get pizza? It's my idea too, Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think a lot of times too, I think about, oh, it's the weekend. We're all going to be together. That means we can go out to dinner. We try to do that. Every week at least, something to that effect, out to dinner, out to lunch, something like that. So I do feel like that's a fun family time, even though we regret it after with them. Wasters.
But is that what you guys do as a family mostly? Is go out to eat? Is that how you relax on the weekend?
Yeah, and if there's a movie and stuff like that. So yeah. Yep.
And you get food at the movies?
popcorn.
So it's kind of all rolled into like the family thing. The weekend is like it's all. I don't know. I'm wondering if it's part of your hang up with the weekend.
And then the summers are way different than the winter time too. Like I feel like I could be way more focused in the cold weather, being cooped up in the house and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the boat and the lake and everything like that, let's go for a boat ride. Let's go out, let's get food and get sandwiches and go on the boat, like, or something like that. Or people are visiting, or the neighbors next door having a party or whatever. And like, it seemed like every weekend there was something happening or somewhere to go or be, outside and that sort of thing.
Right. It's like permanent vacation mode.
Yeah.
So what would you say is your why for becoming a Beachbody coach?
I think just to change our life, to have a different life. I just was not happy, with the way things were going. I wanted something else. I wanted to have meaning, to have a point. I was always asking Mark, like, why do we have kids and why are we married? Like, what is all this for? What are we doing this for? And then it got to, well, why do we have this big house? We're never here. What do we have all this stuff for? And that was a big reason why we decided to like sell the house and move, because I was like, we don't need this stuff. All we need is a bed to sleep in. It's all about the stuff. And then the kids are like, at Christmas time, they could not get enough stuff, right? And it was just like their toys in their bedrooms and all these things. And I'm like, we need to start to dial it back and focus less on stuff and more on purpose and like living life and being with each other, making memories instead of, buying stuff and all of that kind of thing. So, having those conversations. And so, it's like I said, when I found out that you could, make money off of, or be a coach and have it be a career, I was in for sure, because, like I said, I already liked the programs and I already loved the products, and I was already doing that. And to be able to, help people in that same way. I would say that in the beginning, I probably wasn't thinking about helping others as an MO. It was definitely about replacing my income, being home with the kids, like having a career and making it work financially for us. So that was definitely the beginning. And then, since I've replaced my income that I was making, killing myself there, it is morphed into another thing, like now with the personal development, everything's changed. That wasn't something I cared to do or even knew about, before. So your whole like mindset just changes, and you start my confidence is like through the roof, and you have this like whole different sort of outlook and attitude about life and the meaning of life and what are we doing this all for, all of those things. And I'm definitely becoming less selfish, because I do think about the kids' lives and things more and more about what we can do as a family and that sort of stuff. So I think now my why is it's still to be it was to be free, to be able to be financially free is the ultimate goal. No worries, being able to give back to others in the community in other ways financially. But, right now we're doing good as far as, having a general, income, and then the freedom of my time, being able to, take on teaching and being able to like be with the kids at school if they need me, whatever. I was just saying the other day that I can't even imagine going back to doing anything else or something like a regular job, because it's just been, such a shift in life, like completely from what I was doing with the rat race and everything before till now. And just can't imagine ever going back there, and I wouldn't, because I income wise, we're fine as far as my income goes. So I don't need to go back there.
Like when you think of like, okay, now I can say I'm successful at this. What does that mean to you? Like, how would you define it? Because you said you don't want all this stuff. So, you've been downsizing, like the material thing doesn't seem as important to you. So if you had to say, I know I've hit I feel like I'm a successful coach now because, what would that be for you?
I think that it would mean having my coaches be successful. I feel like I really struggled being a good leader. And whether that's, in my head or not, I'm not sure, but I feel like being successful would mean that my team was successful, that we were all on equal, like, as far as helping them to meet their goals. I definitely don't feel like I'm in a position where there's no financial worry. So I want that too. But I think that it would just feel incredible to see, Angie and some of the other girls reach the level of success that they want, and be able to, go on events and trips with each other and have you guys. I always imagined like, doing like retreats with my coaches, whisking them off somewhere and for a weekend or something cool. And
that sounds very unselfish.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking the same thing.
When I ask you what success means to you, and you say you think you're successful when your team is successful and you want it for them, that sounds very unselfish. Mm-hmm. Because you're not talking about what coaching's doing directly for you. Just saying.
Yeah, so I guess maybe I've changed a little.
Or maybe your mom is wrong.
Maybe.
They have successful coaches, but they can't have your water.
Right. Exactly. No water for you.
Oh. So what opportunities would you say that being a coach has provided in your life so far that you wouldn't have had otherwise?
Well, traveling and stuff like that. I've gone places, but getting the trips, having the trips be a reward, that's pretty cool because you work for that. And so it's like the ultimate reward when you're there and you could say you earned being there, which is like so crazy. And I also felt like, I never got an opportunity like that working like at my dad's office or, for even my own company, like, obviously being the owner of my company, I'm not going to win a trip somewhere. But like, I remember he would have, like sales quota stuff, for his sales people. And I could do it if I wanted to, but it just seemed so overwhelming to like set a goal like that. There was like one dude that always won all the trips and, it just seemed so like out of reach. Like that's crazy goals, guy was a crazy salesperson for my dad. But he was definitely his personality, looking back on it, his personality was, he's big suck up and stuff. So, anyway, so I feel like, the traveling, the opportunities to get to like meet the trainers, like Summit, all of that stuff. But also being able to be in control of your time and your schedule. I feel like anytime I try to describe that to somebody that, I want them to be, come to our, or talking about coaching rather, describing to them that you seriously make your own schedule. It just sounds so crazy and made up, like a pipe dream, but it's so true. I have complete control over my day, my time, and, I don't think I'd be in this place, in this situation up here at the lake if I hadn't started coaching, because we'd still be stuck at home for sure. I just feel like everything has pointed us to, make, those smarter changes with life. And, like we're saying with downsizing and all that stuff, I just feel like we're at this point, we're building our house or getting ready to build our house at some point soon, is like, this is like our forever place. This is going to be it forever. And I don't think that would have happened if I didn't look at starting this opportunity. Like my life would not have taken me to this path and that kind of stuff. So besides the bonuses and the trips and all the fun workout stuff with Summit and photo ops and those things, like just life in general, being able to do whatever,
So I would say that you have reached a level of success with this that would draw in so many people, because you replaced your income, you work from home, you earn enough that you don't have to go into an office, and you've been there. Like, what that was like, having to bring your kids to daycare and then go to the office. You know what it was like to get the phone call when your kid is sick and you're in the office, and now you've got to scramble to figure out what the hell to do and how to get them home. Like, those pain points, you have the solution for that, and like, you're living it. That should be all over your page. All over it. Like what you just said about, and the travel is like the least of it, I feel like. And that is something that, people can kind of dream of. But just this, like, we have so many people who are stuck in their day and are sitting at work, and they gave their kid Tylenol this morning, and now they're waiting for the phone call from the nurse, and they're hoping it doesn't come before the meeting that they have at 10 o'clock. Like, that is what people are living. And this is like what you just said. You are living the solution. I know that you've been at this for a long time and you don't feel like you are where you want to be, but where you are right now is something that you can really, like, it's real. It's real. Like, what you've done is real. You aren't working in an office. You're able to stay home. Like, that's incredible. And you did that pretty quickly, that you were able to do that. So I think that part of your story, you need to like really kind of flesh out what it was like before, how you felt when you used to have to take the kids and all of that stuff, and really get into that feeling and what a solution this really has been. Because your life is completely changed, like 100%, 180 from where you were when you started with this.
Right.
I think that's probably the biggest, especially for recruiting coaches. I think that's your biggest, those are your pain points to, because those, I mean, it's real, like it's right there for you. Like, this really did solve that problem for you.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think about that too. Like, in the selling of our house part was so huge, because that like just got us, I didn't get us out of debt by the Beachbody income, but we became debt free once we sold our house. Mm-hmm. And we have, it's the rest of it's in savings gonna go to this house. But it was just like, when I realized that I could completely make that change and still have money left over to do something up here, I was like, oh my God, what are we waiting for?
Right. But, and you also had the courage to take that leap because of, like you said, because of everything else that's happened. Like, you took control of your life. You were unhappy where you were. You saw an opportunity and you went for it and you made it happen. Like, that is huge. That's huge. And I think that is something that people can relate to, and that's something that you can draw people in, because they are going to want what you have, but you have to show them what you have, instead of feeling like, well, I haven't reached this level of success, so I can't, whatever. You have reached a level of success that is significant.
Okay, if you say so.
Other than that, I have no strong feelings on the matter. But yeah, I mean, I think like you can help people to implement all this. Like you are good with working with challengers. Like you can help people through that process. It's attracting the coaches that you want to really start to focus in on, because that's how this is all going to blow up for you, is when you can start attracting people who are where you were 4 years ago and showing them that this is how you get to here. That's really the part of your story I think that you need to focus on.
Yeah, I guess I need to think more of myself in that regard.
For sure. Yeah.
I still keep comparing myself to like, oh, so-and-so, like when I hear so-and-so's been a coach for only 2 years or whatever, and they like give the accolades and then they give their spiel or whatever on the national wake-up call, you're like, why can't I do it that fast? Why didn't it work for me that fast, you know?
Right. Oh, I think the comparison game is deadly, right? I mean, and we always hear that, not to compare ourselves.
Yeah.
But if you compare yourself to where you are right now to where you were 4 years ago, that's where the magic is. Like there is no comparing yourself now to someone else now or whatever, because they're not, it's useless. It's a useless comparison. But when you look back at where you were and now look at where you are and how you got there, it's your story. I mean, you have to tell your story, obviously. But I think that's extremely powerful. That was how you got me, was you were talking about buying mulch. Something about like buying mulch.
Say that. I know. We've never had money to buy mulch.
You know what it is though? The problem is that people don't think that you can actually make money doing this. And so you have to give them like a concrete, you have to give them a reason to believe that they can. And it has to be concrete. Like we always feel like we're not getting the whole story. You know what I mean? Like, oh, people are trying to make this seem like it's better, because people are doing that to us constantly. Like we are constantly being sold to and advertised. And most of the time things don't live up to what people claim they are. But you gave a very concrete example of that. And then you had gone on a trip too. So you had like gone to Mexico, I think it was Mexico. And then the mulch thing. So it was like I'd seen the Mexico post like in April, and then the mulch thing over the summer or whatever, at the beginning of the summer. And that was what I was like, oh, she's actually making money doing this. Like, this is crazy. You know, I need to look into this and see what it is.
It's almost better when it's something like that, rather than I bought this new car or I bought my house, or because it almost doesn't even sound believable then.
Right.
But if you're just talking about all the daily crap that people are tired of spending money on that you don't have to worry about, that's what gets people.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, talking about trips and all that kind of stuff is great, but it almost seems like it's so unbelievable and so unattainable. But if you're like, you know, I bought all my kids' school supplies and, you know, didn't have to worry about the cost of that and stuff like that, that's what people identify with and what people are like, oh, that's what I want, you know? I think that is really sharing all those little things it doesn't have to be, you know, I'm a multimillionaire and da-da-da-da-da. People don't identify with that at all.
Right. And just the replacing your income part, like the fact that you don't have to go into an office every day. Like you've got tons of people who are working right now, and then you've got tons of people like me who were at a point where it was like, well, my kids are going to be in school. Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to go back to work in an office? And now I know I'm going to have to deal with all these things that I talked about before, which, you know, it's a disaster. It's a disaster to have two parents working outside of the home. It's so difficult. And so many people are living that, and so many people are facing that soon because their kids are, you know, they're getting to the point where they need an extra income.
It's just expected. The two-person income at this point is the norm. That's
right.
that's the norm and that's what people expect. There's no way that I can get away with not doing that.
Right. Yeah. And you've achieved success. Like, you're there.
Okay.
Deal with it.
Right? I just channeled my daughter just then, or she channels me all the time. I don't know what's happening. Get that look from her all the time. But yeah, I think that's probably the biggest part of your story that you can really dig into. And then the food thing, I think there's still more there with the food. And it being wrapped around the family time and stuff like that.
Well, that's good.
I think it's a good start.
Yeah, thank you. Who's going next week?